Lily Ray, welcome back again to Europe. This is the second time we've been sitting on this sofa. Thank you so much for joining us on your summer 2023 tour.
Thanks for having me again.
So here you are at SISTRIX HQ in Bonn. I don't want to waste any time. At the beginning of this video, we can talk about some stuff about you and your company at the end, because I want to focus on the topic of AI, of expertise, and that general sort of content area. It's on the tip of everyone's tongue right now, and I want to extract as much information from you as possible. I think personally things have changed in the area of content. If I think back to 10 years ago, I think we could get away as writing sort of high school level content on Google, and Google would be happy to present that to its searchers. In my opinion, now we're at master's level, properly researched and referenced information. And my first question is, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it depends on the category. Like Google has this concept of your money, your life, YMYL. So for things that are highly your money, your life, which can potentially cause a lot of harm to the user, I think absolutely it's master's level. You have to have well-researched, well-thought-out content. There's still some categories where you can probably get away with high school level content if you have maybe a lot of other things working well with the site, or maybe like a lot of social media signals or backlinks or things like that. But that's harder and harder to do. I think that it's going in the direction of extremely high quality content.
Yeah. So let's say you are at that level of expertise or beyond that. I mean, to me, this seems like an opportunity for those sort of people. But how do you tell Google? How do you show Google that you're an expert?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that that's actually like one of the biggest opportunities right now in the SEO space, even though people don't necessarily think of it as an SEO like project. Something my team and I work on a lot is like working with companies to demonstrate who are the people that work here, what does their online portfolio profile look like, are we connecting the dots between the places that they've been mentioned online, and are we making really clear like what is their biography, what are their credentials. And there's so much that you can do with that. That kind of becomes a process that should become part of your SEO strategy, because especially with names that are common names, you have to do a lot of work to prove to Google, like, this is this person and this is why we can trust them.
Right. Okay. So are we talking about, you talked about joining the dots. Are we talking about your own website, social media? What are we talking about? Are we talking about linking sites together?
Yeah, there's linking, there's structured data. There's a specific structured data attribute called same as, where you can connect, like if it's a person or an organization, you can say, this is their Twitter, this is their LinkedIn, this is their muckrack profile or whatever, wherever they've been mentioned online before. So there's a lot that you can do to connect the dots with links, with structured data. And even just making it really clear, like on their biography page, saying this is the same person that won this award, or like being very, very specific and clear with your language can go a long way.
Yeah. Images and videos as well, do you think?
Yeah, I think the best like author biography pages at this point have a lot of rich media. Like they have videos, they have awards, pictures of the awards that they've won, podcasts that they've done. Just bringing all that interactive content together it's evidence that you are the expert that you say you are.
So if you're writing content, you do need to have an author with a biography, with some sort of link to social media or stuff. Even if you're the smallest website, you're a little a shoe repair shop here in Bonn, would you need an expert, or is that sort of the level where you can get away with, that high school level content? Yeah,
so this is like a controversial question in the SEO space, because Google has never said you need an author, and they've never said this is a necessary ranking factor, but they do say those things are recommended in situations where people would want to know who wrote the content. So journalism, news publications, health and medical, financial content, like, yes, you should list your authors, but the shoe store down the street, I don't know that they need that, especially if it's clear, like, this is a shoe store with good reviews, we can trust them, they wrote this on behalf of the brand, like, it's probably fine. But I do think, again, if you read between the lines, search engines are going more and more in the direction of, like, who are the actual people behind this content?
That's interesting. I mean, there are some good examples out there. If you look at class-leading content from Good Housekeeping, from Wirecutter, they are really into showing not just one author, but the author, the editor that's checked that. And that's very clear now. And that seems to be the trend. But, it seems to be that you're saying we should be keeping that in mind, even if we're a small site. That author is going to be really important, right?
Yeah.
What about if you're an expert that has two areas of expertise? All right, let's take my example. I'm experienced in SEO data. I also love camping, and I can tell you a load about camping as probably an expert. I have a lot of experience. How does that work with Google? If I start writing about camping and I'm linking to the same profiles that I'm using writing about my daily work, SEO data, how does Google work that out?
Yeah. I think, so first of all, like if you're truly an expert in both those things, that's true. You know what I mean? Like you put that on your profile, you want to write that content. Like you should be writing about what you know. So I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm not going to talk about camping because I'm an expert in SEO data and I want to be known for that. Like I would be authentic to who you actually are. People are multifaceted. I have SEO and music as my interest, and I've made it very clear in my profiles that I do both things. And if you ask Google any question about me, they know at this point I do two things. Where it gets tricky,
it works for you.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of work. I think where it gets tricky is like things like Google's knowledge panels. I'm listed as a musician on Google, and then once every 3 months it lists me as a senior SEO director. But then it goes back to musician. It's like they only want to pick one, and I think they get confused about which one's more prominent.
That's interesting.
But at this point, I think I can write content about SEO or DJing, and Google will know. She does both things,
Okay, how much time do you spend taking care of your profiles then?
A lot. I mean, it's like people, oh, you're Googling yourself. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of the best case study for the things that I do for my clients,
Yeah. Good stuff. What about the expert that doesn't really have online history? So I don't know, let's think there's a lecturer at a university has spent 25 years training lecturing to PhD students, clearly an expert with experience, has no online presence, but now wants to look towards retirement, write his book and get, or her book and get online and have a presence. Where do they start?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to start somewhere, like start with developing your biography. It's something you could even use ChatGPT to help with, or another AI tool. Start by compiling your accomplishments and your credentials, and you can use what's on LinkedIn, or you can use whatever other biography you have about yourself. And, again, collecting like images, videos, any other resources that provide evidence. And then things like, Google Scholar, for example. Google's good at connecting the dots between their own products. So like, again, with my name, if you Google me, you'll eventually see my Google Scholar like information in the search results. So I think getting in all the different places that it would make sense for you as an expert to be listed.
Right.
It's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah. And if you're not online already and you're not even thinking about doing something in the future, it's probably worth starting, right?
Yeah. I think that's one thing that we work with companies to do is they might have one or two experts who haven't thought about these things before, but those experts give like a lot of credibility to the company. So we work with them to start building out those online profiles.
That's interesting. So we talked about that expertise, and I mentioned experience a little bit earlier. This is the new E, as it were. How do you interpret that? What is experience? How do you show Google experience?
Yeah. So Google introduced E as part of the EAT family in December 2022. And personally, I wasn't very surprised because a lot of the communications that they did last year in 2022 basically said, for example, with product reviews, we really want to see that people have actually used the products that they're writing about and tested the products.
Praise
so
the Lord.
I think that's the biggest area that they focus on. And that's actually the first example that they give in the search quality guidelines about experience. So it's really just, are you who you say you are? Have you done the work that you're saying that you have done? Like, is there evidence beyond just saying, I'm experienced? Like, where are the pictures? Where are the videos? And that provides, it's challenging for a lot of like companies and publishers. We've had some clients who said they've been doing product reviews, or supposedly, and we told them this new criteria, and they said that's not possible for us.
Right.
A lot of companies are saying that it's too cost intensive or resource intensive. So that's what Google's saying. It's if you can't do that, it's going to be harder for you to compete.
Yeah, well, hopefully those will drop away. It will bring more traffic to the people that are putting the effort and skill and expertise and experience into it.
Yeah.
I think it's easy for users to spot those stock photo reviews. It's clearly that there's an Amazon stock photo review. Do you really think that Google can work that out? Do they have enough technology to work out that it's a pair of that user's hands on that product and it's not a stock photograph?
Yes, I think the answer is yes. But of course, you'll still get people finding exceptions to the rule and then saying, "Oh, that Google hasn't figured it out yet." That's always going to be the case with these conversations because these are very hard things to accomplish algorithmically across the board for millions and millions of pages. But again, the direction that they're going is to be able to use their technology to be able to do these things. And if you see what Google's capable of technologically, it makes sense that they'll figure it out.
I have an example for you. This came up a few months ago, and I haven't pre-warned you about this in our show notes. There was someone reviewing nudist beaches. How on earth do you show experience reviewing nudist beaches?
I guess you ask people if you can take photos of them, but that seems like a can of worms.
So that's my only case I've found so far where it's not actually possible, or Google wouldn't actually accept that as something.
You could maybe blur it out or something. But yeah, no, you do find yourself in these situations where you have to get creative. Like I've had other clients where like, I can't take a photo of me doing XYZ thing for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So, okay, can you take a short video of yourself before you get there?
Yeah.
Talking about what you're going to do today? Yeah. Just anything that shows you that you're putting in the effort and you're not relying on like stock photography.
Yeah. It's funny because those sort of bloggers of 15, 20 years, they've got that now. They're ready. Yeah. They just, I've got to take a picture here, got to take a picture there. They've got that in their workflow, their mindset already. But people that are coming into it, they don't have that idea that they need to take photo. Here I am. We did it earlier. You came straight in and you took a picture of something that was on the screen. Yeah. Boom. Without even thinking.
Yeah. I mean, if we'll talk about it later, I think, but like the direction that the internet is going, especially with younger generations, is influencers and people that are real people. Like the idea of like the stale, dated website that we don't know who wrote the content is kind of going away. So yeah, the more that you can do to be like, I'm this person and this is the experience that I have, it's going to fare well for you.
It means getting out from your work stall and doing stuff, right? Yeah. Let's quickly talk about the risks of AI-generated content. I think we all now at this stage realize there's a risk. A good example is Trainline. They were on stage at Brighton SEO in April talking about their assessment of AI, using AI for their some of their landing pages, and they stepped back from it due to a risk. What are the risks and how? I mean, more importantly, how can you prevent those risks happening?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of risks right now. There's privacy concerns. There's information accuracy concerns. There's not knowing when the large language models are producing information that's not entirely correct, even if it's not blatantly wrong, sometimes it's a little bit wrong, sometimes one of the words in the sentence isn't right. And it's very hard to know when that's happening because they don't tell you, we're 70% confident about the information presented here, right? That's, for me, ChatGPT, it's like, it's so confident sounding all the time that's concerning. And people don't know the difference, especially if they're using it to pretend like they're an expert. You can say, hey, pretend I'm an expert on this thing and write an article about this and it'll do it. And you don't know whether or not that was expert content. So when you think about doing something like what the Trainline did at scales, like the opportunity for risk is just so high. It's like you wouldn't even know where to go to spot it. So I think it's good that they're like reconsidering it, because my fear is that so many companies are going to dive into these tools now and not realize like, oh, we accidentally used personal information in the data set. It's like, things like that. It's, it's very risky.
There's two things that come to my mind there is, number one, you're going to need an expert to proof that content, right? Yeah. And number two, even if it's 98% good, having 2 errors in every 100 is super risky, right? If one of those risks blows up on Twitter, we know what happens to brands when that sort of thing happens. Yeah. So even that risk is too great. Yeah. Will we ever reach 100% no risk with AI? We don't know, do we? But
I don't know. I mean, I think like, with things like what Google's potentially rolling out with its search results, the number of Google searches that happen per day, I feel like statistically, I can't imagine it's going to be perfect across the board.
Do we need to be perfect? I mean, we're not perfect. Right. Journalists aren't perfect. What is the level of risk that's acceptable? It's an interesting question, and not one for this, not one for this chat. Let's break away a little bit from AI and content, talk about Amsive Digital, your company, your head of SEO there, or director of SEO there. What's Amsive Digital doing? What are your customers asking for? What's the focus right now?
Yeah, a lot's going on this year. I think, again, AI is the biggest hot topic. Hasn't necessarily changed the work that we do very much. I think we found a lot of efficiencies with tools like ChatGPT and other AI tools and Midjourney and things like this to start to think about cool and interesting ways that we can use these tools. But we're not using ChatGPT to mass generate content, for example. Aside from that, I think GA4 migrations are a really big thing this year. Our team was formally trained in GA4, which is probably the biggest change to how we do reporting that I think I've experienced in my SEO career. And a lot of people on the team was well, it's a lot to learn, Yeah. There's some big changes with BigQuery exporting in Google Search Console. I've been very focused on Google Discover. We have a lot of publisher and news clients where they get a lot of traffic from Google Discover, and being able to see a lot of that data across many different clients, you start to put patterns together of what works and what doesn't work. So we've been diving into that as well. And, we have a very strong technical SEO team within the SEO team. They're always doing big migrations and international targeting and things like this. So, the bread and butter of what we've always done in SEO is still always super important. But I think there's new products and new innovations that are changing the game. Yeah. Anything
kind of on the radar that we should all be taking note of for maybe the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest topic right now for Google is SGE, Search Generative Experience. We're kind of beta testing it right now in the US. Unclear how much that will actually roll out. And even in Europe, for example, whether it will roll out. So that's a big deal. That's potentially the biggest change to search we've seen, ever, I think. But Google also announced something that my team and I are really excited about, which is perspectives. So there were a couple of different announcements called perspectives by Google. One of them is just when you look at the search results, you might get a couple of different perspectives on a topic, featured snippets that say different things. But this is a new development or new product that's going to be a tab that you can go to or a filter that you can go to that says, these are the content creators and basically influencers who have answered this question. So maybe you're talking about pasta recipes, and there's a bunch of different chefs or recipe bloggers who have video content from TikTok, from YouTube, from different places, and Google's consolidating that. So that's really exciting because it goes back to the experience and expertise conversation. Are we also using video and audio to capture these experts? Yeah.
Another opportunity then for experts in this, what did you call it? Perspectives, right?
Yeah.
I missed that. That was in the
in the Google I/O
just a few weeks ago. And for those that don't know, we're sitting in Europe right now and not able to get the Google Generative Search Experience to test. Well, some of us have tried with VPN, of course, but at the moment it's not here. Good. Let's leave it at that. Lily Ray, I want to thank you for spending your time here with us again in Bonn, and good luck on the tour.
Thank you.
And also you're DJing as well, aren't you?
I'm DJing. I've become the resident DJ of the SEO conferences. So I have DJ. 5 DJ gigs that are tied to SEO events in the next couple of months.
Where are you playing?
Here tomorrow.
Yep.
Which will be fun. In Spain on the beach.
SEO on the beach?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
In Rome, kind of casual thing. And then I think in Paris. And then also MozCon in Seattle.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. And thanks again, Lily.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.